to accomplish your big HR goals this year. Whether that's going after a crazy increase, like a 40K increase, 30K increase. If you're looking to pivot with a pay increase, obviously I like money. If you're looking to start your own consulting, coaching business, your own fractional business, I'm talking about the big goals, right? The big ones. We're going to talk about how you can accomplish those in 2026. I'm going to go over 3 strategies, and then we're going to talk about how you can map out your next 90 days. Next 90 days. All right. So I'm live. I'm live on YouTube. I'm live on LinkedIn. I go live on LinkedIn a lot, but trying YouTube and then also Facebook. So I have no idea how it's going there. But I'm gonna see if my live is up and running for LinkedIn. And it looks like it is. So it looks like it is happening right now. So that is great. Fantastic. Okay, cool. Before we get into everything, y'all, my break was amazing. I took 2 weeks off at the end of the year, and I had debated if I wanted to do that. It was the best decision I ever made. It was the best decision I ever made. And I really enjoyed every moment of it. I had set the intention that I really wanted to be silly this year, goofy. I don't know. I just felt like I like to have fun. I like to laugh, and I love comedy shows and stuff. And I felt like I hadn't been really embodying like fun lately. I mean, the world itself has been kind of heavy, right? I don't think I'm alone in that. And so I was like, I just want to be silly. Like I want to be goofy. I have 3 nephews. I have a little brother that's 3 years old, y'all. And so I was like, I'm gonna be silly. I just want to be silly. I posted, you can see I wore costumes. I wanted to just like do all the baking, eat so much sugar. I wanted to be lighthearted, and I wanted to see lights and all the things. So just setting that intention felt really good. Really disconnecting for 2 weeks felt really good. And it's so funny as a business owner, the pressures you put on yourself to like be constantly productive and it's just like coming back today. I literally unplugged. I came back today, and the stuff that was taking me like hours, I just finished in like 20 minutes. I was tired. My brain was tired, y'all. My brain was tired. But if you're new to me, hi, welcome. I'm Lashanique Lake. I am previously HR global business partner. Before that, I was in retail. I had my retail career for 5 years. I pivoted into HR in 90 days. I then grew my career to a global HR business partner, making well over 6 figures and doing it pretty much every part of or aspect of HR, from HRIS to start off as a generalist. I also was part of acquisitions. I mean, I've done it all. My last role was supporting an organization of 20,000 associates. I've done the talent stuff. I've done, if you can name it, I've pretty much done it. And then in June of 2024, I left, went on a sabbatical, what was supposed to just be a sabbatical. And I was coaching people. I started to grow my business. And so last year I was able to beat my revenue goal by 25%. Come on, y'all. And I'm so excited for this year. I have been supporting people through pivoting in 90 days. I also support people who are newer in their HR role, no matter what their role is, and to grow in their career, ask for promotions, go for bigger roles. And also, I help people who want to pivot into something outside of HR. So, and whether it be growing their own HR fractional consulting business, coaching business. I've been doing all those things. So if you're new to me, hi, hello. I was supposed to do this at 1 o'clock today, but your girl forgot because she was unplugged. I forgot to put on my calendar that I actually have a hair appointment today. And something as big is coming with my hair. I don't know, it might be a big chop, it might be a big color. We'll see. I'll let you guess. But yeah, I'm doing something a little different with my hair. But if you're planning to come at 1 o'clock, this is the session. But yeah, in either if you're watching on replay or if you're live now, you can let me know. I would love to hear any big goals that you all have. But these are the goals that I've been hearing from people. I want to start my own consulting business, or I want to grow my consulting HR business. I want to pivot my career, right? I want to get employed, right? Like there have been a lot of people that have been unemployed for extended periods of time. So I've heard a lot of that. I've also heard, I want to go after an HR leadership role. And so I was like, okay, a lot of people have really big goals. Let's talk about what I have seen personally, right? Where I've been able to accomplish my big goals, but also the commonalities that I'm seeing across all my clients, like from real data points, right? So real data points. And so again, if you're new to me, I want you to know, like, I believe you can accomplish big goals, period. Like full stop. You don't need to be a different person. You don't need X, Y, and Z. You can accomplish big goals. And so if you don't like hope, and if you don't like, getting your head juiced up, you don't like getting praise, you don't like getting confidence, this is not the place for you, right? Like I believe in being able to accomplish big goals regardless of what you got going on, regardless of who you are. And so that is one of the biggest philosophies that I live by. Anybody can accomplish any big goal, and I'm going to give you three really main strategies that I have used and that I have my clients use in order to accomplish their big goals. So those are some of the big goals. Skip level, skipping, having two promotions. You go from an HR business partner to an HR director. Why not? I believe in all of it. Nothing is off the table. Okay, nothing is off the table. So if you have that dream, but people are like, "Oh, that's not realistic," I'm gonna tell you how you can do it and what needs to happen in order for you to move towards it. It's gonna be simple and hard at the same time. A hard word. I'm gonna use the word hard a little later. I don't love that word, but I'm gonna stick with it. My gut is telling me to stick with it. All right, so we talked about the big things. My other big one that I love is helping people get, and this is part of my other program that I do, is I help people get raises in 6 months, even if you're new enroll. So again, I don't think you have to wait a year in order for you to ask for a raise. I don't believe in any of that, and people do it all the time. Okay, so let's see. So I'm going to share the three strategies that I have seen across myself and across others. I think a lot of people are asking questions when they have these big goals, like a 40K increase, or if they have the goal of starting a consulting business. There's a lot of questions like, does this make sense in this economy? Are people even contracting people right now? Can I actually pivot because there's so much competition? The market is tough, especially for pivoting. I mean, people truly think like pivoting is a big risk and that it's not possible because of so many different factors that they believe. Or they should start smaller. I should take a step back. I should take a demotion. I should go back and get all these degrees and invest and get all this debt before I obviously you don't say it like that, right? But like that's what ends up happening. It's like I should go invest more in getting a degree, and because I don't have X, Y, or Z. I already tried it. It didn't work. I had a consulting business. I got one contract and it was really hard. So I don't know how to get more contracts. So I'm just going to do something different. And so we're going to, again, talk more about how to do all of this, even with all the different things you have going on. And I got my notes. No shame in my game. Okay, so because I don't want to miss anything. But big. Okay, so the first thing, and the crazy part is like some of it's some of the best strategies are not going to be things you haven't heard before. There are things that you probably know, but you probably haven't put in practice long enough or the right way. Okay, and so even though some of this may not sound life changing, if you're still not reaching your big goals, it's because you haven't seen part of one of these strategies all the way through. Okay. And so we can talk about it. Like, ask me your questions. You can DM me. My DMs are open. Let me know what resonates with you, or if you're like, I don't think that's like life changing enough. I wanna hear about it. Okay. I want to hear about what is coming up for you. Yep. And I'm just trying to see if there's any questions or anything like that. Okay. I don't see any questions. Also, it's my first time on YouTube, so I don't even know where questions will be on YouTube, if I'm being honest. But that's how we do. And that's actually probably going to tie into one of my strategies. Okay. So the first one, strategy number one, you got your pens and paper. You got your pens and paper. I want you to write this down. I want you to diagnose. There's only two things that could be the reason why you're not moving forward. And you're going to fight me on this. I know you're going to fight me on this. It's okay. We can scrap it out with love. Diagnose what actually stopped you before. Okay. So if you started something, you started your pivot, if you tried to get a raise and they said no, or you thought about going after a raise in your role, but you didn't, so you talked yourself out of it. If you talked yourself out of like going after a director title, right? Whatever the goal was, if you went down the path of a consulting business, you started a website, but then didn't do anything else. Okay. Diagnose what actually stopped you from going forward and being successful. Okay. And there's only two things that happen. Okay. So it's going to be very simple, and it's not any of the things that you typically, right? I hear a lot of, oh, I just don't have the time, or it's the economy, or it's the, listen, people are out here pivoting. People are out here having stellar consulting businesses. People are out here asking for big raises, and all of it's still happening. There's the difference between those people and probably you, if you feel like you're in this boat, is that either you have a mindset issue, and I'm going to talk to you about that, or you have a strategy issue. Usually it's on the mindset side, y'all. Mindset is 60% of the problem, 60 to 70%. Because you can have all the strategies in the world, but it's the mindset behind it. So let's talk about this. So mindset is, you have a mindset problem when before you even like go to update your website, you're talking yourself out of it. Before you apply to a role, a director level role, a director HR role, you're going through all of the different requirements, and you're like, there's no way. No way. Okay. You're looking at an HRBP role and you're like, oh, but they need employee relations and I've never done it. You're literally walking yourself back every time. How can I do consulting? I've only done X, Y, and Z one time. What if they need me to do blah, blah, blah? I've never done that before. You walking yourself back. Okay. Anything where you're like literally talking yourself out of it is typically a mindset issue. Thinking about others and what others have. Like, everybody else is better than me. Everybody else has it all put together. I don't know how to do this thing, right? So if you're pivoting and everybody's like, okay, you need a network to pivot. You're like, I don't know how to network. I don't have the network. I'm not going to be able to do that. Right? Like, you're literally, again, it's a version of walking yourself back. Like, you're about to go and you're about to do a beautiful dive into the ocean, off of the dive board, but then you're like, no, can't do it. Walking myself back. Okay. And constantly taking other people's advice over knowing that you can move forward with anybody can do anything, literally, if they put the right mindset behind it, right? But you put other people's thoughts or opinions above yours. Okay. Strategy is more of, and mindset can actually make you have a bad strategy. But like, let's say you have a great mindset around everything. You're like, yeah, I can do it. I can do anything that I want. I'm going to go after this director title, whether they put 17 things on here that I know I've never done or I've done something similar to. You might have a good mindset, but then you're doing strategy that isn't leading to any results. All right, so if you're doing this, if you're applying to a healthy number of jobs, if you're networking with a good amount of people, if you have a strong website with great sales copy on there, if you have all those elements, but you're still not moving forward, there's something off with your strategy. If you're working till 1 a.m. on your business, and then you're working a full-time job, and yet you're not seeing any results, there's something there with the strategy. So you're not walking yourself back, you're actually walking yourself forward. You're doing a lot, and you might be doing the same things over and over with no results. Okay. Now I want to be clear. Sometimes you might be doing everything appropriately, but there still might be some underlying mindset things there. So I think some big mindset ones that I see with my clients typically are around the job description. The people that believe that they don't have the exact experience, they have to lie in order to be seen. Those people have a mindset issue, and then they end up not applying to an appropriate number of roles that then move them forward to get a good amount of interviews, which then moves them to an offer. Right? So the main issue has nothing to do typically with their resume, right? They have a solid resume. It has nothing to do with like a lot of people might be, well, I have a gap on my resume, or I have this, or I have that. It all started with their mindset, because they're like, I'm not going to apply to these roles, even though it's an aligned role, even though it's a role they're excited about, because they have those issues, they're unable to move forward. But let's talk about the resume, because listen, a lot of mindset issues. If you have a mindset, if you walk yourself back a lot, it actually can show on your resume pretty clearly to me. When you think you are, not qualified for something, that's going to show up on the resume 100%, right? Because you're going to say things like, I co-led, oh, I only did, I just did. That's the type of energy that ends up coming out on the resume. And then you don't talk about your strongest examples. You don't talk about your big wins, right? You don't talk about those things, because you kind of you make yourself small. You shrink yourself down. Okay. So you have to decide, is it really mindset or is it strategy? Okay. Is it mindset or is it strategy? Consulting. I can't narrow down who I want to focus on, because I'm going to leave clients off the table, right? That's a little bit of mindset and it's a little bit of strategy. Okay. So if you sit in this big pile of indecisiveness too, that is a signal that's some mindset, but that's also probably a bucket of strategy, where you have like all these like thoughts about who you can serve for your business, or where you might end up, where you could end up. Like, should I do HRIS or should I do project management? Right? Those are the types of questions where you sit into this like big pile of like indecisiveness that actually, surprisingly, is a little bit of strategy, mostly strategy, and a little bit of mindset, but mostly strategy. So it's one of those buckets. Okay. And the best way for both of them is that you actually get outside of your head, right? You get outside of assumptions, because what keeps people in either of these spirals or circles and doing the wrong strategy, or having a mindset that keeps them stuck, is that they have to decide that regardless of their mindset, regardless of if the strategy is working or not, that they're going to move themselves forward, and they have to get out of their heads, right? They have to get out of the cycle. They have to break the cycle. And there's only a couple of ways to do that. Someone else has to be able to help call it out for you, right? They have to get out. You have to get it out of your head. So like, I'll give you some examples in a second. Oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought on that one real quick. I'm gonna come back to that. But I think about, there's so many examples that I could share for myself. I remember last year in my business, I was working so hard on sales calls and consultation calls, and trying to figure out, how do I help people along in the process to make the decision that they want in order to actually have more clients, right? And I was doing all the work, all the strategy, but I wasn't seeing 100% the results that I wanted to see. And finally, my coach called me out and she was like, Lashanique, this is all mindset at this point. What else is underneath? Right. And I realized that I had some underlying thoughts about money and I had some underlying thoughts about my old identity when it came to before being a higher earner with a 9 to 5, right? So I haven't fully replaced my income, but I I had lots of thoughts about that. And that is what was clamming up. And I couldn't see or feel that connection. I needed to get the thoughts out. And so when I say get the thoughts out, for me personally, coaching is the best way. I stand by coaching as one of the best things that you can do is to get it out. But you can also self coach, right? Like you can journal, there's therapy. Even though I think therapy a lot of the times for like what I'm usually talking about or making big goals, it helps you get about 20% of the way, 20 to 30% of the way. I find therapy very effective in certain regards, but not in other regards. And this is someone who's been going to therapy for like a few years now. And I stand by therapy, but therapy plus coaching just has a bit of a different lens. So yeah, so it's a combination. It's just mostly getting everything out of your head, right? So it's only you have to diagnose it's one or two things, and you have to decide is it mindset or strategy, and you have to get it out, right? You have to be able to move yourself forward by getting it out. Okay. Strategy number 2. We're gonna move on. Hopefully, I remember my other thing. If I okay. So strategy number 2. This is around data. So this can be said a couple of different ways, and chat gave me a different way of talking about it than what I normally do, so I'm just going to talk about both ways. But mostly my biggest thing, what I have seen in order for me to move my career forward, when I've pivoted, when my clients pivot, and now in my business, is data. Data is so important. And we often collect the wrong data or no data at all. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So let's start with pivoting. So in pivoting, in order to pivot, the first thing I see people do is they go and they get a bunch of advice and they collect that as data and as evidence of what they need. So, for example, I've shared this story before, but I had a client, funeral operations, funeral director. She was talking to people and they basically were saying, hey, if you don't get a certification, you're not gonna move forward. They were saying things like, well, if you I understand your background as a recruiter, but I don't think other people will get your background. So it's going to be hard for you to pivot, right? And so that really started to eat her up a bit. She remained curious, right? She remained curious about it, but most people they end up using that and they're like, well, Lashni, this is what they're saying, so this must be true. And so they take data and advice that's rooted in other people's opinions and biases, and then they see that as true data of why they can or cannot. The other one I see a lot, especially if you're like doing a business, I'm like, well, my friend did a business and it failed, or my friend had a really successful business and they decided to walk away from the business. And again, I'm like, everybody, whoa, everybody's circumstances are a little different. We don't know what was going on with their mindset. We don't know what strategies they were using. We don't know what other people were influencing. And so they take those few data pieces or data points and then they use it as this is the way forward versus getting the real data or information that they need. So let's talk about promotions. This is another big one I see where people are like, I can't ask for a promotion because I'm new in my role. I can't ask for a promotion. It's just not something we do in our organization. And also we have layoffs going on, right? So I see a lot of that as well, like those types of data points. And so when I take a step back and all those scenarios or situations, there is the right kind of data that you need, And then there's knowing like what the actual data, like actually tracking the data for yourself. And then also there's a little bit of ignoring some of the data. So I know I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth, but like that's life, right? Like life is this like beautiful balance between like a gray. Like there's just gray. Like there's just not black and white, right? We let our brains tell us there's black and white, this or that, only this, when there's this beautiful mix and art of the human experience and how we move through things, right? And so, okay, so think about, so I think let's talk about pivot. So in terms of pivot, what I have found, and this is data that I've collected over my clients, and I've seen other people kind of collect this kind of data as well. But I have a rule of 100, like literally a data point that you must apply for 100 roles over our time together. And we don't make any changes to the resume before those 100 applications are up. And we need to do that in the time period that we're together, right? And so there's like, usually like 60 plus days that we're doing that. And so once you get to that 100, then people like usually within that 100 that they're applying to, they're going to see progress towards more interviews, right? With the right resume. And then I have the same rule of 100 for networking. We expand your network by 100 people, no matter where your starting point is. If you're brand new to HR, if you're in a whole different state, if you're in a secluded area like Kansas or Hawaii, like we work on expanding your network by 100 people. Okay. And I have seen when you start to talk to at least 30 people, 30 qualified, people that you expand your network by, that's when you start to get more and more interviews for highly qualified roles that you'd be excited about. Okay. So that's data. And then having my clients track, are they on track for that or not? And when they're not on track for that, then we talk through that. And then we go back to, is there a mindset issue? Or is there a strategy issue? Sometimes there's a combo. Sometimes it's just strategy, sometimes just mindset, a lot of times mindset, right? Or again, if they're not getting to the 100, it's because they're counting themselves out by not applying, or they have all these rules, or I'm not going to apply because of X, Y, and Z, but they're making assumptions based on that, right? It's not good data, right? Bad data in, bad data out. You can't make decisions on bad data. Okay, so that's like the pivoting aspect. Let's talk about data from a business aspect. So I see a lot of people really struggle with making decisions on their consulting business, their fractional business, because they want to know exactly what to do and how to do it. And trust me, there's strategy, but there's a lot of doing before you fully know. But the only way to do that is to collect data. And so I remember when I was first starting my business, I worked with people for free so that I could get data, right? I went out and I got 5, 10 clients, and that was the best data and information that I needed so that I can move towards what my potential clients wanted and what they were doing and how they were thinking and all those different things, right? So I collected that data with those. So I believe when you're first starting out with your business, you should be looking to get 5 to 10 free clients so that you can get the data that you need. Okay. And tracking that. Okay. Last one I'll do, because I'm talking about all the big goals, Let's talk promotions. So if you want to go after my client went after a 30K increase. Okay. And so with her 30K increase, we had to figure out why was she not doing the certain things? Why was she not? And some of that was, why was she not influencing to get things done? Okay, so we had to go through and figure out who felt like why wasn't she influencing, who wasn't she influencing, and we had to collect that information. Okay, so that was very specific to her. But overall, for promotions in general, what I see for people is that when they're ready to promote themselves, they don't have enough data about the impact that they've had in the organization. And part of that for her was she wasn't able to talk about the impact she was having in the organization because she was saying yes to all these like projects that she was doing and they weren't super impactful. And because she wasn't able to influence people to take on the better projects or the better things that she knew would move the business forward. So she was just saying yes to everything else. Okay. So the date that like there was a lack of data on, okay, what projects will actually move me forward? And also, why am I not influencing? Right. So we had to collect that data over time. And so it in my program, in either program, Prime to Pivot or my HR mentorship program, we are looking for, okay, what data do we actually need? What do we have? And where do we need to track? So my clients, they track their wins every week. They track their impact every week. And we go through and decide, okay, what do we need to do differently? Right. My clients who are doing businesses, they're tracking, okay, what is resonating with my ideal client? What is not? How do I move this forward? How do I not move this forward? Okay. And I do the same thing. Like what are the messages and things that are moving my clients forward? How am I actually doing? Like right now for me, it's all about sales calls. So how do I discovery calls, consultation calls, whatever you want to call them. How am I moving those forward? What do I need to do differently? What do I need to do? What do I need to do going forward as well? And for pivoters, right? We have that data down pat. Did I meet my 10 to 20 applications this week? Yes or no? If not, why? And then we can correct. So once you have data, once you know the right data, you know how to track it, then you can see if you're progressing forward. Right? And again, I know this sounds simple, but I'm gonna tell y'all ain't doing it. I thought about this the other day. I always use my nephew as example because a lot of times too, I'll ask my clients, I'm like, okay, did you reach out to X amount of people for networking? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's look at it. And then like, oh yeah, they reached out to that number of people, but not in the time frame that we discussed, right? So technically they did not meet the goal, but in their brains, they've been doing work, right? So I can't trust me in your household. I'm sure you have had to audit people, or you've had to like audit what has been done and what hasn't been done. My nephew, I'm like, did you shower? You're like, yeah. Like, okay. And then I'm like, when did you shower? People like 3 days ago. And I'm like, boy, get in the shower. Like that is so a lot of times we think that we are doing the actions. We think that we have networked with a good amount of people. We think that we have talked to enough people or we've gotten the word out there for our business, but we don't track enough. I have a spreadsheet, and you don't have to do a spreadsheet. You can do whatever you want. You can track whatever you want. But I have a spreadsheet on my discovery calls, what it looks like, how I what the main issue was. Did I close them? Did I not close them? People who didn't show up to sales calls, like I track that information. Do I track every single thing in my business? No, I picked that because that's the problem that I need to work on, or the thing that I'm focused on right now. That's the other thing. You have to pick the right data thing to focus on. Okay. If you're looking to pivot, right, are you getting to the right number of applications? Are you getting to the right number of networking? Right. And if that's not happening, why? Strategy or mindset? Something's going on there. Okay. If you want a promotion, it might be like for promotions, it totally depends. It could be, um, do you know how many people are supportive of you getting promoted and how many aren't? How do you find that out? What do you say? What do you do? Have you told enough people? Right? Like, is it documented right? Like, how do you progress? How do you talk about those different things when it comes to that? Because most people are not really tracking. Most people really, I hate tracking. When I was doing my uh I'm just trying to make sure there's no questions that came up. So when I've been dieting, right? I've been pretty open about my dieting journey. Um, I told her, I was like, I do not want to track. I was like, I do not want to track. I know I got to be in a calorie deficit, but I am not trying to track. Like, can we do something else? And so we tried to do the plate method and did that for like 3-4 months. Did not see progress. Okay. And she was like, okay, well, do we want to consider? I'm like, oh, I was like, I was tracked for 2 years straight. I got annoyed with it. I got burnt out with it. I don't want to track. And she was like, okay, well, do we want to stick with this goal or not? It's like because you have said that you have had made progress when you've tracked. your calories so that you know that you're in a calorie deficit. So so I know how much protein because I always under eat protein. I don't grab for protein naturally. Do you want to do this or not? I was like, okay. So then as soon as I started tracking, I saw the correlation between my weight going down and not. That's why I lost 15 pounds last year. And I'm really proud of that because I tracked and I was able to see, okay, I'm good at getting protein on these days. I'm the struggle with protein sometimes on these days. I I'm not getting certain vitamins. Maybe that's why my energy is low. Like it just opened up a whole new world for me. And I'm really grateful to my old organization because we tracked a lot and it helped us see our progress. So tracking is a natural part of me, even though I hate doing it in other parts of my life. I am finding it way more beneficial. Last thing I'll say about tracking, and then I'll get off of it. So I also, when I was in my role, and this is brand new, so don't judge me, but my brand new planner for the year. So I have my planner, and like I said, you can track any way you want. So in my personal life, this I love this planner, and it has wins of the week. And I'm so bad at tracking wins of the week in any other place, but literally I will track here. And so I write down my wins of the week. And last week I celebrated that I stayed unplugged. That's important to me. And I'm tracking that because this year, one of my big goals is to make sure I incorporate rest throughout the year. I didn't do that last year. I didn't do it well. I took time off of the year, but it was almost because my body almost forced me to. Right? I'm a workaholic. So whatever big goal you have for yourself, if you don't know what data to go towards and if you don't track it, it will be very difficult for you to actually get to it. And this comes from a girl that hates tracking, but you have to be choosy, and then track appropriately towards that particular goal, right? And I know I said that was the last thing, but even like my going back to like real life, I had to track how many times I was working out a week. And so my goal was 3. And I made sure that my app stayed up to date. They tracked it for me. My app stays up to date because I go to a gym and then I could see like, okay, did I meet my 3 or did I not? If I did it, why or why not? Okay. Okay. And if you don't feel like you have time to track, right? Again, that goes back to that's why I talked about the mindset of strategy first. That just goes back to there's when I didn't want to track is because in my mind it felt heavy. It felt like a lot of work because I was telling myself it was a lot of work when I was just like, okay, how can I just make this easy for myself? Okay. And then I talked to my trainer about it. I was like, okay, well, I'm not feeling tracking. She was like, okay, well, try a different app. Because I was like, well, I can't track in advance. And she was like, oh, okay, yeah, try a different app. This app you can track in advance. I was like, perfect. So then that helps me. And then another reason I wasn't able to track is I was like, well, when I go out to restaurants, it's hard to know. She was like, don't worry about exact at that point. Type in whatever and whatever comes up, just do your best, right? Like don't make it about perfection. I was like, oh, okay. So again, it was a little bit of mindset, it's a little bit of strategy. Okay. So there's some real actionable things here. And that's why, and again, on all my programs, we have ways to track your progress. For me in business, am I getting my 3 to 5 posts out a week? Yes or no? Am I getting one podcast out a week? Right? Because that's how I run my business. This is how I get people in my business. And that's how people show up in my orbit. Am I getting my masterclass out once every quarter or once every 3 times a year? Yes or no? Am I trying new things? Yes or no? Right? So that these are the things that I'm tracking towards. All right, I have a lot to say about data. All right, y'all rocking with me. We are 40 minutes. I have one last strategy left. And this one is, I was like, I don't know if I want to keep this one or not, because this word I think is like a word that people really struggle with now. And me personally, I struggle with. Again, I'm just checking y'all to see if there's any or anything people are asking. I don't see any questions or anything. Okay, so and it's funny because this came up. This came up when I went to a live. I went to a live coaching session or with other entrepreneurs, with other Black women and women of color entrepreneurs. And when I took my sabbatical, I was so burnt out because I'm a workaholic. I work really hard and I just got burned out. It was a combination of family things, work things, and I think also my body telling me that it was time to do something different. And so taking a sabbatical, having burnt out, having gone on leave of absence because I was just that tired, I was terribly afraid of ever burning out ever again. Okay, because it's not just like, oh, I'm just so tired. No, like I was going to therapy for depression and anxiety because I was that burnt out. And I say this with a lot of compassion for those who have burnt out, compassion for those who have been in that place where they're like, there's no way I'm gonna do something this terrible to my body ever again. And now being on the other side of it, that was a season. And so I really want to make sure that everybody understands and hears me loud and clear that every big goal is going to come with a piece of hard. Okay. And I like cringe a little bit on the side to even say that because that word, it just doesn't feel great. And when I was in person in this coaching session, we were talking about a version of this in entrepreneurship because a lot of us go into entrepreneurship because we're like, corporate America has burnt us out. Got to work for that man. We don't want to do that, and we want to do what we're passionate about. We want to help people, and all that's true. And also, business comes with its own versions of hard. HRBP came with its own versions of hard. Pivoting came with its own versions of hard. Going to business school as like 0.05% of Black women at University of Michigan was hard. Like everything comes with hard. It comes with a season of hard. Being a wife comes with its versions of hard. Being an auntie, being a sister, being a big sister, like every single thing comes with a sliver of hard. And I think we're just kind of been fooling ourselves, but also trying to protect ourselves. I know me personally, I've been protecting myself since COVID. And I had this like big epiphany. I was like, I think we've all been doing that because COVID just came with a lot. And then politics, and then this, and I get it. I get if you've been protecting yourself, again, especially too if you're in HR, because there's been so much change and there's been so much transition. But y'all, I'm obsessed with HR. I'm a stick with it. I don't see myself moving away from HR anytime soon. Right now, I'm really loving entrepreneurship and everything that comes with entrepreneurship. And I see for my people who are pivoting into HR, they are loving their roles, L&D, TA, all the different roles, like getting better, getting bigger HRBP roles, going after HR manager roles, right? Operations roles. Like I see the joy that it's bringing people. And also I see the trepidation that they don't want to go down a path of hard anymore. Right? They don't want to go to another season of hard. They want something new. They want more money. They also don't want it to come with any versions of hard. And so a big thing that I've been coaching people on is like, you got to choose your hard. Like, so to think that there's going to be no hard, that's not gonna work. That ain't gonna work. But you have to choose what your heart is, and you have to reframe it in a different way. Like this comes with this territory. It's like when you choose to be a parent, it's gonna come with some late nights, some sleepless nights, some sick nights, some nights at the hospital. Like, but it's the path that you chose, and for many people, right, like it's what they want. Right, for many people it's what they want. And so if you're choosing you're choosing to pivot, it's going to come with something hard. But I see people, the big thing that I wanted to share in this particular strategy is choose the right hard. Okay, choose the right hard. I see people quit instead of being visible because visible feels too hard. I see people quit because networking feels impossible, but they're like, but I'd be willing to just like quit my whole job and have no income, but learning how to network seems impossible, right? I'm like, like, come on, y'all. Like, you would rather have zero income than to figure out how to get past your uncomfortability because you're scared to just reach out to somebody on LinkedIn, or you're scared to like approach somebody at a networking event. But even though it's like the whole purpose of the event is to network, like, and I'm not saying this to be mean, because again, we all have our own things. Like, I tell people all the time, interviewing, even though I have a system, I help people land jobs. 80% of my clients that finished Prime to Pivot in 2026 and 2025 landed a job in 2025, right? So like I have a system for it, but interviewing is freaking hard, right? Like that is a version of hard. Like some days I'm like, do I want to go back into corporate America? I'm like, I don't know if I want to interview. But if I truly did, right, I would have to choose that version of hard. But sales calls, I have to like interviewing, you would do one or two times for, with 4 interviews or whatever, and then you would go into a role, right? So that is a version of hard for me. I have to do consultation calls pretty much every week, right? So that is the version of hard that I'm choosing for myself. But I tell myself, I also get to choose my own schedule right now. I also get to choose the work that I do. I also get to help women of color. I also get to help like I get to like decide what are the other things though that outweigh that. When I pivoted, I was like, crap, payroll sucks. I don't like payroll. It's hard, but I also love that I get to coach people. It's better than stocking shelves, right? Like this is the hard, I'm choosing this payroll hard because I no longer want to do X hard, right? So we have to be careful with ourselves, is be like, there is no hard. So choose your hard, embrace your level of hard, and tell yourself a different story about it. Okay. That's the only way you're going to move forward to big goals, right? In the next 90 days is making sure you're choosing the right hard. I want you to make sure you have you know what data to track, not data that doesn't matter. If you're doing social media, right, because you're building your brand, you're building your business, the number of likes you get don't matter. I've gotten posts with like 20 people that viewed it, but then I booked I converted a client off of it, right? So you have to be careful that make sure you're looking at the right data and you're tracking the data. Okay. And then you want to make sure that you have diagnosed, is a lot of what's going on with me mindset or strategy or combo, and where? And am I getting it out? Right? That's the best way to move forward in the next 90 days. Diagnose yourself. I'm going to keep saying this. Get the right data, track it. And then I want you to choose your heart. Okay? Don't sell yourself stories that don't make sense. There's going to be a version of you that's going to have hard in your next 90 days, in your next role, in your next 6 months, in your year. And are you willing to take that on? Okay. Otherwise, you can choose the version of hard that you have now. You can choose to stay with the mindset you have now. You can choose to stick with your strategy. And that's a choice, right? Like we all have choices. But you can also choose different for yourself, right? You can always choose different for yourself. You can get the 40K increase. You can get a skip level promotion. You can go after a director title. You can go after a VP title. I have a client that just messaged me. She literally was a data analyst, although she was working more at a director level, but her title was data analyst. And she pivoted within I think it was 40 days, got a huge increase, and was head of people, right? So probably equivalent of like a senior director. The company is growing and they're going to change her title now to CHRO. Who would have dreamed? If she had stayed in the mindset of, I'm going to just take an 80K role, probably going to take a step back. If she had stuck with her strategy of just applying to roles with the resume that she had, if she had not leveraged like the data that we had talked about, right, during her process, making sure she networked, make sure she went to a good amount of different career fairs and stuff like that. If she had just was like, oh no, I'm just gonna apply, because I don't want to, blah blah blah. Okay, if she didn't track the right data, if she didn't do that, if she had been like, oh, going after head of people role, that's too difficult for me, right? She wouldn't be where she is now. Okay, and that's true for all my clients. True for every single one of them. True for myself. I've given many stories. I'm happy to share more if any of this resonated with any of you. And if you specifically, all my programs are open. So if any of these if you want to do any part of what I've talked about, if you want to get a promotion, if you want to pivot, if you want to start your own business, then we can definitely talk about that. Schedule a consultation call with me. And if specifically, I will be promoting pretty much for the rest of this month my Prime to Pivot program, where you pivot in 90 days with a pay increase. And I have to do the math on what my average was this year, or the average increase was, but it definitely has continued. I believe it should still be 25K average or above. So most of my clients pivot with that increase. So when I say you can do it all, boo, I say you can do it all. Okay. So I know this was a long one because I wanted to share all of the strategies that I know will help you move yourself forward. But if you want to pivot this year, specifically, again, I'm going to be promoting that mostly this month, because my masterclass, HR Pivot Resume Masterclass, is at the end of the month. So the link is already up for you to sign up. Go to ballangiles.com/HR Pivot Resume. Okay, y'all. Woo! Feels so good to be back. Feels so good to be back. Let me know if anything resonated with you. Let me know in the DMs. I want to chat with y'all. I took some time off, so I want to know what's going on in your minds. I want to know what is resonating. And I'm going to drop the link for the people who signed up for the 1:00 because I'm going to head to my hair appointment now. You might see me with a different hairstyle this week. All right, y'all. Take care. Bye.